Hey guys, it's Marian from My Crafty Home and Garden, and today we're going over Gardening 101 tips. And I am just going to be sharing you my do's, my don'ts, and my gardening tools, little shopping list. This is for beginner gardeners, novice, people who haven't gardened in a while. This is a very basic list to go by, mostly from things that I have made mistakes on or been successful at, and things that I've learned from others. So I'm going to make this little list that I'm going to be reading off of today, a downloadable link, if I can talk, in the description box below. So you can click on it, you can download it, and you can have it in your home. And there's a couple spots down here where you can add more things on. So we're going to go ahead and start on our do's, because it's always good to start with the positive. And the first one is to correct soil. So if you're using containers to garden, you want to use potting soil. I think, when I first started gardening, I just kind of grabbed whatever bag that I saw that was on sale and didn't even read it. So pay attention to the terminology that's on these garden soil bags. There's things that are raised bed soil, in-ground soil, potting soil, top soil, all kinds of soil. So you want to make sure you're getting the correct soil for the correct type of garden that you are going to do. My next thing on here is add compost to your garden. You can compost things that you already have in your home. Things like coffee grinds, banana peels, tea bags, eggshells, grass clippings, dry leaves, wood chips, cardboard. All those things are compostable that you can add to your garden. And that way you are adding better nutrients to your garden, and you're reusing things too as well. And remember, a healthy soil means healthy plants. So we want to make sure our soil has the right type of nutrition so that our plants can grow and be as healthy as possible. The next thing I want to talk about is companion planting, and that's just planting plants that like each other together and keep the ones who don't like each other a little further away. So things like sunflowers and corn do well together. Tomatoes, cucumbers, and basil do well together. These plants help enrich the soil that the other plant needs. It also helps with flavor. It also helps with pest resistant, which is also really good, and it encourages the growth. So for example, beans provide nitrogen into the soil, and there's other plants that need that extra nitrogen. So planting those beans right beside those plants will allow the soil to have nitrogen, and it will give the other plant that needed a little extra boost. The next thing I want to talk about is growing flowers. Growing flowers in your garden and around your garden can help attract pollinators. You need bees in your garden. You need those beautiful bees to pollinate the flowers, so you're able to have those beautiful squash, zucchinis, tomatoes, whatever you're growing, to be successful. So you don't have to go around with a little paintbrush and hand pollen. I mean, you could do that as well, but why not let the bees do the work for you? The next thing I want to talk about is planting your garden in a sunny spot. So pay attention to your garden. Right here in my front garden area, as well as the side, I get lots of sun. So up here, I want to plant all of my sun-loving plants. In the backyard is a bunch of shade. So I want to do my shade-loving plants. When you read the tags or the back of the little garden packets, you're going to see what type of area it likes to be in. So just kind of take the time and look. I always like to tell beginner gardeners to start in pots. So if you happen to place your pot in the wrong area, you can easily pick it up and move it to the correct spot in your garden, and it will help you figure out where you need to garden, especially if you're moving kind of like right in the beginning of the springtime and you really don't have time to kind of dig out and carve a spot for you. You can easily start a pot. The next thing I want to talk about is watering your garden early in the morning or late in the evening. I would not advise watering your garden in the middle of the day. I find that the sun just evaporates the plants right up, and evaporates the water up, not the plants. Evaporates the water right up, and the plants do not get a chance to soak in the water that they need. And there's so many ways you can water your plants, and we'll talk about that in another video. But I would just highly encourage you to consider watering your plants earlier in the morning or later in the evening. That way your plants can have time to soak up that water before the sun comes and zap them right on out. The next thing I want to mention is clean your containers out before planting new plants. And this is something I also learned the hard way. Bugs can create homes, they can lay eggs in these pots, or chemicals could have been sprayed in your pots. You don't even know it if you bought them from the store. Maybe something was sprayed around the pots and got inside there, and you may not want to be consuming that in your body. So it's always nice idea to just do a quick rinse with some simple dishwashing soap diluted with water, and rinse out the plant pots really good. Set them out to dry in the sun, and then later actually put your soil and your plants inside the pots, versus just going right into planting, even if they just been sitting out in the shed with not being exposed. Because the last thing you want to do is plant your nice, beautiful, healthy plant into a pot that has bugs inside of there and not realizing that, and you just, set yourself up for failure. So clean your pots out, y'all. The next thing I want to talk about here is preserving your harvest. You worked hard all season long to create this great soil, to water your plants, picking out the sunny spot. The last thing you want to do is all this stuff go away. So one of the things you can do is dry your herbs, and even some of your other food, like hot peppers. I like to string my hot peppers up, hang them up, let them dry out completely. I put them in a jar, and then I will add the peppers to certain sauces or season or whatever I'm cooking to add a little extra kick. Just pull out that one pepper and just drop it right inside the pot. And you can do the same thing with herbs. You can have them hanging to dry, and you can put them in a jar and you use them as spices to season your food or what have you. Canning, we'll do more videos about canning, but I know I have some in this playlist where I've shown you how to can tomatoes to make pasta sauce, and I know we've canned peppers before. We've done all kinds of things. So canning is another beautiful way to preserve your food, and freezing is another way. You can just vacuum seal your food and throw it in the deep freezer, and you will have food in the upcoming winter, fall season, and you'll be able to share that with other family members and friends. They make great gifts to give to others. So now we're going to talk about some don'ts. Don't plant invasive plants with other plants in your garden. These type of plants can have runners, and they can suffocate the other plants, and if they're planted too close. So an example of this is like strawberries. We all love to eat strawberries, but strawberries have little runners, and whatever the runner land, it will produce a new plant, and they'll just keep doing that over and over again. So if your strawberries are right beside another plant in a pot, or even in a actual raised bed or in-ground area really close to another one, it will grow over and continue to grow. So you have to be mindful of constantly pruning that back, or placing the runners where you want to be. So if you don't want to do that, a great idea would be to take those plants and plant them separately by themselves in their own section, so you don't have to worry about that. Mint is another example that will take over a garden in a heartbeat. So mint is great to plant in its own raised bed by itself, or planted in a pot, and that way you don't have to worry about it taking over the other plants and suffocating things out. Blackberries is another one. It has little runners just like strawberries. Wherever that cane touches on the ground, it will root right there, produce a whole new plant, and a new cane will come out and pop on the ground. Before you know it, that whole bed is a blackberry bed. So just and there's other herbs and other types of plants that do the same thing as well. Hold on. Mailman came. So don't plant invasive plants with other plants. The next thing I want to talk about as a don't ignore signs of disease. Check your garden daily for plants or leaves that look diseased. So things that are yellow, that may have different weird kind of bugs on it, you want to pluck those off, and you want to discard that away from your garden, because it can easily spread and create a problem with the rest of your plants. You want to check your leaves for bugs. A lot of times later in the evening is a great time to do that. You want to make sure if you see things like heartworms, that you're taking those off of your tomato plants. I think they're called heartworms. It's like a green chunky worm. I can't remember what they're called. Y'all let me know in the comments. But it's a green little worm. It loves to eat the tomato plants. You don't want that on there, because it will wreak havoc in your garden. Like it will go through and eat everything up. You don't want that on there. So keep in mind that you want to make sure that you're putting on this money and time and energy into creating a healthy garden. You want to keep those pests out of there. And there's other ways you can eliminate pests too. So we'll talk about that in another video. The next thing I want to say about our don'ts is don't overcrowd your garden. So you want to be mindful of spacing. You don't want to put so many things in a raised bed because one, it makes it difficult to harvest. Two, it doesn't allow enough airflow, which can create disease. And then B, your plants are not really growing to its full potential. So if you have so many plants growing in the garden, you're not going to get that nice big carrot or nice big tomato plant because it's all suffocated by all these different plants. You want to make sure you give it space. The square foot gardening method is a great method to follow, especially if you're growing in a raised bed or an in-ground system where you can really mark off how many plants should be in a square foot. And there will be some links below about that as well. And just some basic garden tools I think everybody should have are garden gloves, different types of shovels, pruners, a garden rake, and a watering can. Those are like your basic garden tools that you should start off with. And if you have those things, you should be just fine. I appreciate you clicking on this video and watching me share my gardening 101 tips, my do's, my don'ts, my garden tools. And in this video, I'm going to be sharing pictures of other people's gardens and my own that I have done in the past. I asked some of my friends, I said I'm going to be taking, well I didn't quite ask, I just kind of demanded. But I love them and they love me, so it's all good. But I'm going to be sharing pictures of different people's gardens at the end of this vlog, just to kind of give you an idea, as well as my own, of what other people have done. And I hope you guys have a successful garden. Thank you again for coming on here and listening to me ramble. You guys have a beautiful and blessed day. Bye.